Well, this wounded boy man doesn't want to have anything to do with these things, see? So the next quality is an adult initiated man has a sacred relationship with grief and gratitude. We call these the two great arms of life, grief and gratitude. I've been leading grief rituals for the last 15 years. We're looking for a new place in Ojai, but this has been one of the holiest things I've done with my life. And when I did my own initiation, I thought I had a decent relationship with my grief, but I didn't. I was like every other man I knew. I just really was afraid to let tears show, because that would mean what? I'm weak. I'm out of control. Well, William Blake, the 17th century poet, said, "The deeper the sorrow, the greater the joy." And if we want to increase that band of reality in our life, we have to go down so we can also go up. So the deeper the sorrow, the greater the joy. People that have a deep and committed relationship with their grief are some of the happiest people I know. It's so kind of bizarre to even say that, but it's just true. One of my teachers went to West Africa, and it's interesting because right around sundown, when they gather around the fire and they tell their stories of the day, that's right around the time we're having happy hour. So they're telling their stories, and my teacher's there visiting with a shaman that I was lucky enough to apprentice with, Malidoma Some, in West Africa. And there was this woman that was just beaming joy on the other side of the fire. And my friend Francis went across the fire and he said, "You know, you are just so radiant with joy. What's your secret?" And she said something that nobody here in America would ever say, but she said, "I cry a lot." She said, "I cry a lot." And wow, I'm so joyful, and it's because I cry a lot. So here's this band of reality that opens up, because when I let myself be cleansed of my grief, I also have access to all the other emotions, including joy and ecstasy. So a man has a sacred relationship also with grief and gratitude. Is that 3 or 4, something like that? Is that 4? The next quality is probably one of my favorite, because it's really difficult. And this quality is a man holds suffering with dignity. Just try that on. A man learns to hold his suffering with dignity. And here we have to discern between what Jung called illegitimate suffering from legitimate suffering. It's kind of a weird and interesting way to describe suffering, but he described legitimate suffering are the givens: death, illness, divorce, loss, all the griefs that come to us. Illegitimate suffering is our neurotic suffering. We all know about those. All the compulsions and obsessions and the crazy places we take ourselves. The self-elected sufferings. So we have to discern that difference. But an initiated man, as far as I can tell, when he dares to wrestle at this threshold to become an adult man, begins to hold legitimate suffering differently. And here I'd like to go back to the Sufis, who said the soul is not just an essence given, but it's made. The soul is made, thus soul making. To me, this has been one of the most powerful ideas I've ever come across. And then John Keats, the poet in the 17th century, picked up on that. And in a letter to his brother said, "Do you not see how necessary a world of problems and troubles to school an intelligence and make it a soul? Do you not see how necessary it is for a world of problems and troubles to school and intelligence and make it a soul. So his idea there is that we can convert intelligence into soul. What is soul? That's another day. I'm not sure how to define that one. Nobody can really define soul, but we know it has to do with that deep, authentic life. I call it the crust at the bottom of the pot, the bottom of the soul pot. So soul making has to do with taking the raw material of your life and, as the alchemists say, let it cook. So you have to have a container. And my teacher said, vesseling is any prolonged attention offered to your particular style of suffering. I'll say it again. To take your prolonged attention and give it to your particular style of suffering. So it could be gardening, it could be meditation, it could be dance. For me, it's writing every morning and facing whoever wants to visit. I have to face them. And then hiking is another way for me. Music, it's endless. But whatever we give our attention to, we begin, as we consciously let ourselves feel that legitimate suffering, that's soul making.